video, I'm going to work on my 91 F-150, and it's kind of going to be a rapid fire type thing. There's a lot of small little things that I just wanted to get rid of, and I'm just going to go through them real fast. Once most of that stuff is all done, or once I get to the point where I'm heading out, I'm actually going to go to get my windshield replaced and do a mechanical inspection, make sure that there's nothing wrong with this vehicle and that everything is good and ready to go. And if all is good, I will see if I can pass the provincial inspection, and then it'll be perfectly good for the road. And maybe we'll go for a little road trip if it all works out. So why don't we get started in knocking off some items off that list. The thing I wanted to check just to make sure everything was okay is that all these welds are actually sealed up. I know that's something that they're going to look at for the inspection. Right at this joint here, they both leak. This one is missing like almost 2 inches of welding, and this one just has a bit of a hole or something that I got to fix. I also believe there might be a little bit of a leak further up here, but I'll have to double check that. I think that one is okay. But once I get all my welding equipment out and all that, I'll double check it, make my welds, and finalize everything. Everything on this side of the muffler, the exit point, seems to be okay. But what I will do is double check it again once I seal the rest of this up. All right, small update on the exhaust. There was a hole that I had to fill there, and then a couple of holes here that I had to fill. This one had almost 2 inches where there was a gap and everything, I had to fill it. But it's all closed up now. It's hard to see, but there was a like an anchor or a hook to hold the exhaust in place. I had to fix that. So up here, it pretty much seems to be good. I don't think the exhaust is leaking or anything anywhere. It seems to be holding up. I also had to fix that anchor there, or that hook. I forget what they're called. My brain is in a fog right now. But anyway, I just used a flux core welder, a little 110 flux core welder. It seemed to work fine. So that should be okay. I didn't film any of it because it was just too much. I had even a hard time myself getting under there. So if you've been watching any of my other videos, you've probably seen this dangling at some point. It is basically from the original, or well, I should say the first fuel tank. It seems like it was removed and just this stuff was zip tied to the top. I unzipped it to do something, and now it's dangling. So I got to remove it. So let me take a look at that. So what we have here is actually the fuel lines, the return and the sending, and also the vent on here, and then the pump that's still attached. I think what I'm going to do is actually just kind of lace everything up here and kind of tuck it out of the way. Still got the connector to the pump, and what I'll start by doing is just disconnecting it from the fuel pump right here. Well, it's disconnected, but I didn't really think this through. Those connections don't actually close up there. They stay open. So if you were to run the rear tank and the fuel pump is going, it's actually going to push fuel out there because the connection that's above here is just a Y. There's nothing that seals it. The internals here are what seal that tank and separate it from the back tank when it's pumping. So I'm going to have to get a little kind of connector, just a butt joint, and then make that switch. I mean, I guess I could just pop a screw in there, but I'd rather not, just to make sure everything is fine and secure. And I don't want to keep any of this stuff. Like, I'm pretty sure this thing doesn't work because it's been exposed to the elements quite a bit. And it'll just be cleaner if I get rid of it. I can at least keep the connections if I need to, but at least I don't have this thing, being in the way. Well, okay, you know what? Scratch that. These fittings are like pressed on fittings, and that's the Y right there. And that's where I was going to split it, but like I said, they're pressed on, and I'm not really in the position or the mood to change all that hose and stuff like that right now. So I'm just going to leave it like that. I'm going to reconnect that and test it, make sure it doesn't leak or anything, and then just kind of tuck it real good up in here. So this is where we're at now. I kind of just tucked it in behind the frame on the inside and just kind of tied the hoses wherever I could. Should be okay for now. Might add a few zip ties later, but for now it's out of the way. And to make sure that there's no mistake in filling this, I'm actually going to remove this also. The tube is still back there, which you can see right there. And since I don't want anybody else to accidentally fill this area, I'm going to remove it. And there we go. It's just 3 screws that were holding that in. And then that clamp was actually hanging on a bracket right there. But now if you pour gas there, well, you're gonna get a nice surprise, but that's good and out of the way. Case closed. So another thing that I'm doing is actually just gonna permanently affix the switch to the rear tank. That way no one can accidentally press it, including myself, because I mean the switch is pretty easy to to pop and manipulate, and I don't want any kind of accident or for me to forget what's going on and why it won't start. So that way, doing something like this, I avoid any issues. I'm going to put a little bit of tape on there, just make sure everything holds in place, and then kind of zip tie it back there so it holds. If you are going to do that, this is the panel here that you're going to pop off. And then these little knobs, they basically have a lever on the inside that kind of holds them tight up against these knobs or pins, if you will. And all you have to do is, you see where that little opening is? Just put a tiny flat screwdriver in there and then push in. So basically you want that to go in, and then that'll release the pressure, and then the knob will pop right off. All right, nicely tucked back in there with a little bit of zip ties. Let me put the cover back on and get that finished with. All right, so it's all back in. Now, even if you accidentally press that switch, there's no way that you're going to select a fuel tank, and everything looks normal as usual. Another little thing I wanted to fix, very simple. I had this one that always worked, but this one did not work. I ended up finding out that on the inside, it's just the way the pins were. They're a little bit corroded and bent out of the way, and even the little wires for the bulb were not quite right. So I fixed all that, and it seems to be working now. Even if I jiggle it a little bit, it should be fine. So not a super important fix, but I wanted to fix it anyway. And voila, looking good. All right, trying to fix the tailgate. If you saw in my last video, well, at least one of those videos, this was actually overlapping the side of the bed. Now, just doing this little setup here already pushed out a little bit. It might not show very much because of the lighting and stuff, but it definitely pushed it out a little bit. I'm gonna push it out some more and let's see what happens. It is a bit of a weird setup, but hopefully it'll work. Let me try it. It's definitely pushing this side of the bed. I can hear it crunching. Let's check it. I don't know if that's big enough. All right. Usually with metal, you kind of have to expand it more than you want, and then that way it'll kind of pop back into the place that you want, but let's see. Just gonna close the gate a little bit and see where we're at. That definitely pulled in. Let me see if I release the pressure completely. Hang on. This is a little awkward. Sorry for the footage here. I think that is fully released. Hold on a second. Well, a little easier than I thought. It's not perfect, but you know what? It'll do. It'll at least open and close the gate without having it to bind up in anything. And the gap is all right. It's a little bit wide down here, but that might be normal. You know, kind of a 1/4 inch kind of thing is all I'm going for. And it is pretty close. I mean, this thing is banged up, so it's probably out of shape too, but you know, just going with down here, looks good. And up here, yeah, it's a little banged up too. But so far, I'm happy with that. One little thing I noticed is that this thing doesn't seem to keep its position. It's pretty floppy, and I noticed that that little pin there, which belongs to a spring, that spring right there is out of place, so I'm just gonna try and fix that too. And there we go, a nice quick little fix, solved the problem. I'm probably gonna grease these up just to make sure everything works okay, but now it stays open and actuates properly. Closes, locks in place, opens, and closes again without me having to do anything, which is all I wanted. This is good. So this is one of the things that I tried to show the last time with the windshield. I don't know if it's going to show up again, but no, it should be okay. The light in the camera is hard for me to see. But you can see like these little sections here, they're kind of fogging up and delaminating. It pretty much goes around the entire windshield. And then here is the crack. And again, you can see that it's just delaminating all around here. So that's why I want to change the windshield. It's just not in good shape. I think it would be an issue in the long run anyway. And since I'm here trying to figure stuff out and make sure that this truck is good to go, I want to kind of just change these things right away without having to think about them later on. The windshield washer fluid, I was checking the motor to see if it was working or not, because I hadn't tried it before. Unfortunately, it's not spitting anything out. So I brought it over here just to check to see if, you know, the motor was the issue, but that doesn't seem to be the problem. So what I ended up doing is just checking some stuff online, but found that most of the issue seems to come from this connector right here. Although I did spray it with some kind of electrical contact cleaner, but there's these little tiny pins in there, right in there, and you can kind of see there's sometimes a little bit of a gap. You can see it on both of them there. And what I did is I just brought them a little bit closer to make them tighter. I'm probably going to do it again just to make sure everything is good. I tested it and everything seemed to work fine. So let me just go ahead and put it back together. All right, got it all hooked up and back in its place. The wire is reconnected. Might be a little loose, but hopefully it hangs on for a while. So let's go ahead and see if it works. Yeah. Okay, cool. I'm gonna change the wiper blades too. I did go ahead and change the wiper blades. They're the kind of cheap kind. They're not super expensive. However, I do like these ones with the different sections that move to try and take a curve of the windshield. The single piece with the bend in them, I'm not always a big fan of them. They don't always seem to work well. So those are done too. So I pull all these out. I actually have 5 total that are complete, but I have 6 of the rings, but it's missing that center piece. Now on all of the ones that I had, these center pieces just popped right out. Seemed like it was glued with some kind of silicone or something and didn't look like there was a whole lot of it. So what I ended up doing just to make my life simple is just cleaned out that old silicone, and then I used just basically exterior caulking and then dumped a whole bunch around in there, plugged that in there, let it sit for, I don't know, almost a week or something, and then pop them back in. All 4 wheels are done. Here's the hood light switch, if you want to call it that. There's actually a little device that switches when it tips based on where the hood is. That was completely corroded on the inside. One of the wires was broken. So what I ended up doing is just completely removing it. I taped up the ends, and then it'll be like that for now. I'm going to try and find something else. My 92 should have something that I might be able to use, so I might just do that. I was wondering why the vent controls actually didn't work. It just kind of got stuck on defrost. Didn't seem to work on any of the other options. I've now since fixed it. Everything works. I can swap between them. Works perfect. I'll show you what the issue was. A really super simple thing. It was just this guy right here. It's a vacuum hose, and it was capped off here, and on the other end was also capped off. Now there's this kind of little tree that has a bunch of different sizes for the vacuum hoses that operate different things. I actually put it on, placed it, and then the truck wouldn't actually start. Now, I'm not sure if it's because of this guy here or because of I think that's the fuel pressure regulator. The fuel does seem to come in there. But either way, the way I had originally set it up, it did not want to work. Like, the truck would not start for nothing. So I ended up moving some stuff and swapping stuff, and then kind of put it back to where it was originally, and then just looped the lines, and it started working. And then this guy was literally just for the vent controls, and now because of that, everything works good. So I'm happy. I'm also not sure if messing around with all this stuff helped my idle, but maybe it's just the weather. I think it's just a little bit warmer, so that may have helped. I'm not sure. Other than that, everything just works. While I was at it, I took maybe 10 minutes, ran a can of, the Seafoam throttle body cleaner and all that stuff. Ran the whole can in there in both the upper and lower section. I'm not sure if that actually makes a difference when it goes in there, but I ran it. Yep, it got smoky. And then cleared up right after it. Not sure if that made a huge difference, but I wanted to try it anyway just to see if it would do something. I'll find out once I start driving it. Good morning in this kind of eerie shot right here. Ooh. Well, today's the day. Gonna get the windshield changed, and also going to get kind of the mechanical inspection, see if there's anything wrong with the truck, see if there's any kind of problems. Hopefully there isn't, and that everything goes well. So far I've driven it maybe just about 10 minutes on a rough kind of dirt road, which is from my place to the main road, and seemed to do okay. But we'll see what the long haul is, and see where we get. All right, full success. Got the inspection, got it plated, everything is good. I am perfect for the road. So why don't we go and take a little bit of a road trip and see how it handles. was a very successful day, and I'm pretty happy about it all. Got a brand spanking new windshield. Here's a shot of the windshield. You can tell no delamination, nowhere around the edges, which is great. Got rid of that Ford sticker, and also that crack that used to be here is also gone. It's looking really good. I didn't record any of that because I didn't even ask for permission or anything like that, so I just let it go. And then went to do the inspection after that. Had a few hours in between to kind of snooze and take a break, so I enjoyed that. But the inspection went really well. It was quick. I was actually expecting there to be some problems because this hadn't been on the road for a couple of years. But I guess I did whatever I needed to do to make sure it was good and passed with flying colors. I'm pretty happy about that. That beautiful ride, really nice warm day, sunny. I couldn't ask for more, especially since we've been having a lot of rain in the last couple of weeks. Really kind of a downer, but again, I'm gonna say it again, I'm really happy to have this on the road. I didn't have to do a whole lot, and I know that I did a lot of stuff that I didn't need to do to get it back on the road, but you know, it was pretty simple. I got it on the road, everything passed, everything was good, super happy. So on that note, that super high note, that good note, I'm gonna say thanks for watching and take it easy.